Hi everyone. In today's class, we'll learn about Xpath approaches. In the previous sessions, we learned about how to identify elements using ID, name, class name. We learned in the previous sessions that we have nearly 8 approaches to identify the elements. So in any given web application, we have to identify the elements uniquely. So in this particular session, the fourth approach, the XPath approaches, we have going to learn, because in this present generation applications, like if you take Ajax, GWT, AngularJS kind of applications, in this agile process, the developers do not have much time to define a unique ID, name, or class name. So then comes identifying the elements using XPaths or CSS. So XPaths play a key role in identifying the elements. Okay, so let's take a simple examples and start identifying the elements and make sure that we identify these elements and use this in our programming. Okay, so just let me take a simple example first of all. Okay, so I'm just taking one website, some e-commerce loans application called dealforloans.com, and I'll try to identify this particular website in this way. So in this particular web app, I am trying to open one online form, so to get the quotation for the total web application over here. So here I want to identify a particular link called personal loan. So in the previous class we learned that we require an add-on called Firebug to identify the elements. So just right clicking on that element, inspect with Firebug. If you see here, I have a anchor tag, and in this anchor tag you could see there is a class. There is no ID, there is no name. So I am going for identifying this element with class, placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag, placing the value in the search box. Here you could see more than one tag has the class value as parent. So I cannot use this class value to identify this particular element. That's where we are learning XPath approaches. Okay, so from W3C schools you can learn many types of XPath approaches, but I have picked some approaches and gave some naming conventions. In Google you will not find these naming conventions, but I just giving naming conventions for the trainees to understand it easily. Okay, so the first one is basic approach. Second one is text approach. Third one is parent-child concept. Fourth one is contains approach. Fifth one is and operator. So these are the 5 different approaches provided by Selenium in order to identify a particular element. Okay, so the first approach is basic approach. Before that, we require an add-on to identify an element using in Firefox is Firepath. Okay, so for Chrome we don't require a specific add-on. The developer tools will help you. Firebug for Firefox you require Firepath, and IE you don't have any add-ons where you can identify an element using XPath. So your expertise in Chrome and Firefox should help you to write the XPaths for IE. Okay, so simply go to google.com and type download Firepath and just select add-ons for Firefox. One important thing you need to remember over here is without installing Firebug you cannot install Firepath. The main reason is the Firepath is an add-on for Firebug. So just click on add to Firefox, it will be added. You need to restart your browser to reflect the Firepath. Okay, so I am closing this because I already have that installed. So on this Firebug you are able to see this particular element called Firepath. So I'm just clicking on it, and here I can select one element. So I want to identify one city from this drop down. So I want to identify the city called Chennai. Just right clicking, inspect with fire path, inspect with fire path, and here you could see this XPath is generated over here, and on the bottom left side you can see one matching node. That means this particular element is identifying this particular Chennai city from this drop down uniquely. But can I use this XPath? Guys, remember that most of the automation is blindly use this XPath. This is not a right approach. Okay, so in order to identify the elements and use it in Selenium, this is not at all a right approach, because tomorrow a small change in your application will affect this XPath. How? If you see, it is saying option of 5. There are many option tags, nearly 45 option tags in that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth option tag is Chennai. So it is telling Chennai. Tomorrow a new city comes into this drop down and it is added somewhere before this Chennai. What happens? The position of Chennai becomes 6 because the new element will take the position and the previous elements will slowly increment plus plus. So your Chennai will go to the next element, and your target was to identify Chennai, but in the small change done by the developer has affected your XPath. This is not a right approach. For that only we are learning XPath approaches. Okay, so the first approach, let's start with the first approach, the basic approach prototype. Basic approach prototype. Okay, so the first one is / tag name, opening and closing square braces, @ attribute equal to, in single quotes, value. This is the prototype for the basic approach. So I'm copying this prototype and pasting in the firepath text box. I'm replacing that. What is the tag name defined for this particular Chennai? It's option tag. Replace that with option. What is the attribute? The previous class we learned about attributes. What are different attributes? So here it is the value attribute, @ value. Okay. Then what is the value of the value attribute? Chennai. I'm just copying this and pasting it over here. Now you see I'm clicking on enter. You could see one matching node. So now I can confidently say that this particular element is unique and I can identify. Tomorrow a new element is added, that doesn't matter at all, because this particular element is identified specific to the tag, not the position of that particular tag. If you see that this particular element is Chennai, the value defined by the developer for the value attribute. Until unless this value attribute is removed or the value attribute's value is changed, your XPath will never change. If the city is moved to header or footer, left side, right side, doesn't matter, because we are using the attribute value defined for that particular tag. So this is how you identify element using basic approach. So I'm pasting it over here. So let me identify one more element called personal loan. And here you see this personal loan. I have a class. Just now we spoke that we cannot identify this particular element using parent. We should go with XPath. So let me take the basic approach prototype again. So I'm just copying this and pasting it in the now //a and @href equal to, because class is not unique, the next attribute is href, and whatever that is there in double quotes will be the value. People assume that / is not a value. Whatever that is there in the double quotes is the value. You should take everything, even if it is a space. Now click on enter. You are getting one matching node. So I can identify this particular element using the basic approach, using the href attribute. Again, here it is not identified with the position where that is there in the page source. It is identified with the value of a attribute called href. So even if this element is moved to the footer in the near future, this particular Xpath will not change and your script will run without any problem. Okay, so now I want to identify an element called privacy policy. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 3 attributes. Styles should not be considered as attributes. 3 attributes: href, target, rel follow. If you just concentrate here, the href value is privacy.php, href value is privacy.php. Target is underscore blank, target is underscore blank. Rel is no follow, rel is no follow. So that means the XPath over here, I cannot use href also. Just to show you, I am going to take this X value over here and just replace this attribute / tag name @href equal to value. Now you see 3 matching nodes: privacy policy, terms and conditions. Both are getting highlighted. That means I cannot identify this particular element with any of the attributes defined by the developer because all the attributes are same. Then how? Then comes the text approach. See here, you have a text called privacy policy here. Here you have a text called terms and conditions. So the text differs. The attributes may be same, but the text differs. So next approach is text approach. Let's take the prototype. / tag name, opening and closing square braces, text with method parenthesis equal to value. This is the text approach prototype. I'm copying this value in this particular prototype and pasting it in the search box. Pasted it over here. The tag name is A. This is a static. You should never change anything for the text approach. What is the value? The value is privacy policy. I'm just copying this and pasting it over here and now clicking on enter. I see one matching node. So I can say, here you see the element is getting highlighted and terms and conditions is not getting highlighted because the text is unique. So one matching node. When I cannot identify the element with the basic approach, that is with the attributes defined within the tag, I can use the text. But guys, do remember one important thing, that not all the elements will have the text. List boxes, hyperlinks, buttons will have the drop downs, will have the text, but not text boxes, radio buttons, check boxes will not have the text. Just to show you, see here, I am trying to identify this text box. You see here at the end of the tag, you don't see any text defined because it's a text box. Text box will be defined with a label that is at the top. It is a separate tag called TD tag. It is not the tag of the text box. So you should remember there is a, you cannot use the text approach for text boxes, then check boxes, radio buttons, etc. Okay, so hyperlinks, buttons, drop downs, list boxes will have the text defined. Okay, so now I want to identify this particular element called terms and conditions. So again, I'm taking the prototype and pasting it in the search box. So tag name is A again, anchor tag, and the text defined is terms and conditions. So here I clicked on enter. I'm getting no matching nodes and the element is not getting highlighted. Why? I said you just now that if there is a space also we should consider the text as a space. Here you see there is a space. So do remember XPaths are case sensitive, space sensitive. Always copy paste. Don't try to type it because you may miss a space or you may miss a capital letter to a small letter to a capital letter. So if you copy paste it, you will be confident that you are copying it a correct way. So you could see that this particular element is having a space. So when I gave a space, now it identified the particular element. So This is how you use a particular element and I try to identify the particular web element on a given web application. So this is all about text approach. So you can use any approach to identify an element. It is not mandatory that if you cannot identify with basic approach, you should go with the text approach. It is not mandatory. You can go ahead. But do remember, first preference ID, second preference name, third preference class name. Then only you should go for next approaches. You should never ever go for any other approaches until unless you cannot identify with ID, name, class name. Okay. Now I want to identify this particular element called personal loan interest rate. Here I don't have a text, so I'm going the basic approach. I'm taking the basic approach, copying it and pasting it over here. Now the tag name is A. So, and I'm pasting it over here, @href equal to the value. And if you see here, I spelled it wrong, @href equal to value. Two matching nodes. One is here, the next element is over here. It also has one attribute called href and the same value. Here is the other element. So how can I identify these elements? You see here, the parent tag here is div tag. The anchor tag is under div tag. If I click on this minus button, it is getting hidden under div tag. And here the parent tag is h4. So the parent tag is differing. Then comes the parent-child concept. Parent-child concept. So here I can identify with the parent-child concept. / parent tag opening and closing square braces @attribute equal to in single quotes value / tag name opening and closing square braces @attribute equal to value. This is child tag. Okay, so I'm just taking this and pasting it over here. You can also use the text approach, permutations and combinations. If the child tag has text, use the text. If the parent tag has text, use the text. It's just combinations. I'm just doing the combinations. If there is any text defined, you can also use the text. So / h4, the parent tag is h4. Does the h4 has any attributes? No. When there are no attributes, ignore the square braces. What is the child tag? A. Then what is the attribute? href. Then what is the value? The value is this one. I'm just copying this and pasting it over here. You could see one matching node. I clicked on enter, one matching node. The reason is the parent tag is different for both the elements. I got this. So one matching node. In the next session, we'll learn about the next two approaches and also we'll learn about the parent-child concept with a couple of more examples. Okay. Thank you for your time and have a great day.